Hello everyone, my name is ReversibleLag and I am here to show you how to render in 4K with the non-commercial version of Nuke. Starting off in Blender, you have your animation here, say it's just one frame or an image sequence. You want to go to your format, you want to make sure it is 4K resolution, which is 3840 by 2160 at 100%, setting your frames accordingly, and then making sure it's a OpenEXR multilayer, not an OpenEXR, because you will not have the data properties, which are in the tab below that, making sure you want to have the combined Z and mist passes in this OpenLayer EXR. Then you want to have the color depth to be float as half, and then the codec to be DWAA. And for reference, my max frames I'm using for this render, because it's 4K, you can go really far down to about 40. So render this as an OpenEXR, and we can switch over into Nuke. In Nuke, you want to start a new project. I'm just gonna use this one that's already done. Going to project settings, going to color management, making OCIO, OCIO config as ACE 1.2, and then you want to drag your image sequence into the gray spot here. So if it's image sequence, you want to drag the whole folder in. Otherwise, you can just drag the one EXR image in and then use that as a reference. So then you want to add a shuffle node and then put the EXR into the shuffle node with a view layer combined with these settings into a color space with the utility linear sRGB into a defocus. This is not necessary, but does make it look a lot better utilizing the Z-pass, and then finally into a color grader if needed, and then this is essential into a crop node and a reformat node. In the crop node, I will put the different values on screen, but basically the X and the Y are your starting origin points, so it's like X and Y plane. So if we did 0, 0, I would start at the very bottom left corner, and then you go 1920 over in the X, and then 1080p on the top, which will give your first quadrant. Then you want to click Reformat. That will blow the new cropped image up to 1080p, and then you want to put that into a 1920 by 1080 output format, and then finally into a write node, making sure if it's an image sequence, you want to add these hashtags .png or whatever other format you're using, making sure that these have hashtags because Nuke needs to know it's an image sequence, and these hashtags signify that. Then you want to press render on there, and then once that's rendered, go back up to the crop window and go reformat, and then you want to go to the next set, which is over here somewhere, and then you want to go over on the X 1920, which will bring it over, and then you want to go, you can do 1920 and then a multiply symbol times 2, which will go to the double that, which would be 4K. Then 4K, and then you only want to go up to 1080 because of that's how high it would go. So then you go reformat, render, next one, 1920, 1080. Typed it wrong, 1920, 1080. And then you want to go up even higher, so 1920 times 2. That'll give you your third quadrant. And then you want to go reformat and then render that. And then you want to go 0, 1920, and then instead of 4K, we go 1920, and then up to 2160. Once you have all your images rendered as PNGs, you want to go back into Blender, and I have a bunch of windows here, but I can just show, for example, the initial process. So you would open a new Blender window, and then you want to go to video editing. Now this will allow you to string together all the images into an image sequence, or if you're just doing one, then you can stitch them all up in here. So the first thing you want to do in a new window like this that you have no presets is set 1920. Instead of that, you want to go multiply by 2. So bring it wider to 4K and then up to the 4K resolution of 2160. Now that you have a 4K window, you want to go add image sequence, and I will just do one of these and then show the final fit. So these settings do matter. If you do scale to fit, it'll scale up to 4K, or you can do original size, and then setting it to original size will set it to be 1 instead of 2. So if you did add image sequence as this, and then scale to fit, it'll scale up to 2, adding an extra step of scaling this down to 1. So if you do it when you're importing it, you don't have to do this extra step. the position, you want to go for the first quadrant. I'll put these on screen as well, but you want to go negative 960 because 960 is half of 1920, and then you want to go down negative 540, which puts it in the corner. So it would be over and then down. And then you want to do the same thing for each one of those until you get a final image. So you'd have this one, and then the next one would be positive 960 and then down negative 40 at a 1 scale, same thing on the same 4K resolution. And then you want to go this one, I did it a little differently. You can go quarter 3 here, quarter 4 here. Doesn't matter as long as you can differentiate the two. This one you want to go over to the left, negative 960 and then up 540. And then the final one, you want to go 960 over and then 540 up. And then after you've done all of those steps, you should have a 4K image from Blender into Nuke back into Blender that you can render out as a 4K image or an image sequence. And that will allow you to bypass the Nuke restriction of only rendering a 1080p image or image sequence. So thank you so much for watching. Hit that like, subscribe, and ring the bell if you are so inclined, and I will see you in the next one.